With big-name superstars like Rafael Devers and Alexis Diaz still struggling, Matt and I are firing up the old worryometer on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience. Through text messaging, you get alerts right to your phone. We offer so much more on there than we can in this 30-minute episode, and the link is available in our bio wherever you're watching or listening and on all of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. And then something that's really fun, guys, we're doing another giveaway. So dive into the ultimate fantasy baseball experience with our exclusive Locked On Fantasy Baseball hat giveaway. Score big by simply sharing any of our X or Instagram posts. Each share earns you an entry into the draw. The more you share, the greater your chances are of winning. Don't miss out. The drawing will be held on June 14th. So get in the game now. Woo, that is a lot. But, as I mentioned at the top, guys, we're firing up the old worryometer, and we got some really great names for you today. Matt, my brother, where are we going first?
All right, no doubt. And I also want to throw out, too, if you want a couple extra entries, you could also share my post on on X or Twitter, whatever it is, and that'll also count towards it. So just another place to share. But all right, let's hop in this game. Let's start at the top here with a name that we all are questioning, and that's Rafael Devers here. Devers looked like he was bouncing back a tad last week, was able to, have a nice resurgence of, 5 runs, a bomb, 5 ribs. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 runs, a bomb, 5 ribs, batting like 300, was looking pretty nice. Even the total month numbers are looking pretty nice. But then again, slows down again. And quite honestly, back to his old habits of how he started off the year of just like 2 runs, 2 ribs, and batting 250. There's something about this that just doesn't sit really great with me. I would have thought he would have continued on the path. I thought we would have saw a little bit more in the counting stats aspect with him doing it. Maybe a little bit more runs, maybe a rib, maybe a little bit more power even to kind of say, hey, guys, I'm coming back. I'm working through it. But there's just it's just things like that just kind of turned me off with him. And ultimately, it just, if things don't start improving in the power and counting stats aspect, I'm going to start being really worried. I mean, right now, it's not like I'm higher than a 5. I'm at a 5 right now. I'm immediately annoyed with it. But ultimately, he has another bounce back week this going into the rest of the week, and he hits 1 or 2 home runs, and I'm right back to a 0. But also, too, if he has another putrid week where there's no real counting stats and the batting average starts to slip even more, then I'm really concerned. Then we might see this tick up to a 6. So, right now, how I'm handling it is I'm not trading him away, but I'm also not essentially excited to have him either at this point. Clearly, he is not a drop because he's a second, third round pick. So here's how I'm going to treat this. If he has another bad week, I'm going to wait for that next blow up week, and then I'm going to trade him away. And I'm kind of just going to get what I can get. You trade him on the high week so that you can get, not 10 cents on the dollar, and you can kind of get it and just sell him off on oh, he's bouncing back now type deal. But ultimately, we just got to, hang back for at least another week, see what happens, and then stay tuned for next week, and I'll give you a little bit more guidance on it.
So, Matt, I think we're on a similar page. Might not be on the exact same one, but we're close. We're not too many pages apart. We're at least in the same chapter of the book here. I'm going to give Devers a 1.5, 2. We know who he is. At 27 years old, we've seen Devers be very successful, for a long time, dating all the way back to, 2018. He was even good when he came up as a rookie in 2017, right? So even if you just take the last 4 years, take out the COVID year not really counted for anybody. We have a very good idea of who Devers is. 27 to, 38 home runs. It is a big range, but, he's going to usually get around 30 plus. The runs and the RBIs are in that 90 range. Same thing for the, batting average has been very consistent over the years. He's a 280 batting average guy. And then he's a really good player in points league. So all your points leagues guys, you need to go out there and trade for Devers because this is not, who he is. It's not indicative who he is. I don't think at 27 years old, he's fallen off. There may be an injury, something underlying that we don't know about that might come out because this just isn't who he is. All the underlying stuff looks great for Devers. He's still hitting the ball really hard. He's barreling it up very well. Just literally almost every single underlying stat looks really, really good for Devers. So I'm buying if I can. I'm at about a 1.5, 2. Not really worried about Devers. Let's move on to an Atlanta Brave. This is a fun one. Let's talk about Michael Harris. Michael Harris has been, a very interesting case. Started off the year very, very well. Has slowed down a bit. Another guy that I'm not super worried about, though, honestly, he hasn't been around as long as Devers, but, Harris has that prospect pedigree, rookie of the year, hit a home run on May 14th, had a 3-for-3 game on May 11th. So, he's still showing he can get it done. There has been a very long stretch there from like April 28th to like May 10th where he did absolutely nothing. But, you got power, you got speed. Michael Harris is young. If I was at about a 1.5, 2 on Devers, I might be closer to a 3 here on Harris, but still not really worried because, he's got 4 homers, 5 steals, 260 batting average. Maybe not the guy we thought he was going to be at the moment, but I think he can get there.
So, I mean, this is where we'll pretty much debate, I guess over Harris because we've had this debate all off season. Where like Dom's a Harris guy and I'm
We
not.
have.
And like I haven't been a fan, and I think this is just who he is, right? Like there's nothing that in his advanced stats that tell me, hey, there's anything different that he's done from last year to this year, right?
No.
There's no improvements. And if that's the case, then this is what we're going to expect, right? 505 at bats last year, 76 runs, 33 doubles, 3 triples, 18 bombs, 57 ribs, 20 stolen bases, batting 293. Now the batting average is nice. The stolen bases are a nice contribution, but the power and the run and RBI potential is maybe a little bit higher than last year. Maybe we'll get a little bit more runs, but if I remember correctly, he's not even hitting high in the lineup for those opportunities to even be there right now. So with Michael
He's
Harris,
been consistently 7th for a while.
right? So like ultimately, he's not getting a lot of the high leverage situations where he's going to have an opportunity to get higher counting stats. So Michael Harris has not broken out, and this is pretty much what I'm expecting. At most, if I see any improvement in his strikeout rate and such, and how often he's walking, then I might be able to say, okay, his OBP is going to come up, his batting average should rise, right? But the thing is, like, he's also chasing a boatload, and he's just not really getting on it. Like I don't foresee Michael Harris really improving from here at this point. I think we just know who he is, and I don't think we're going to see a breakout this year at least, and maybe next year, maybe never. But the draft price was way too high, and I think he's falling under the bust category because of where we had to pick him. I think hopefully next year he comes back down and he's more of like a player that's a little bit more of a value that I kind of feel more enticed to draft at his draft cost based off of this season doing it 2 years in a row. This would be, hey, this is the story that's told. Maybe there's some upside, but now left with some disappointment ultimately. Michael Harris, at the end of the day, may only be a 2020 guy. And if that's the case, I'm not really thrilled about drafting him at his draft price, along with the runs and ribby production. But yeah, and before I,
Did
even
you
get
throw
to
out a
these
number
next,
there, Matt?
I mean, it's not really even a matter of a worry because like I guess he's just is who he is at this point. But like for guys that drafted him, I would say I'm probably at a 5 again.
Okay.
And like if he does what he does last year, you should be upset, but that was your own choice at this point. Not to be, mean about it, but ultimately you took that risk and that is just where you've landed. Sometimes you have to do that, right? You have to go against with other, analysts or go with the analysts at that point because I was kind of the unpopular crowd and maybe next year just reevaluate him and see where it is, maybe get off the Michael Harris train a little bit. So yeah, but before we move on, we talk about guys like Manny Machado, Spencer Torkelson, Alexis Diaz, and a whole bunch of other pitchers because there's a lot more pitchers on this episode than there is hitters. We do have an ad break for you. We'll be right back after this.
And guys, we're talking about our friends at Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off, which is super awesome, especially this time of year with playoffs going on. With killer deals on last-minute tickets, all-in prices from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. They have last-minute deals, which save you up to 60% off last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy, and theater. They have flash deals, which save you even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Zone deals, they save you even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. All-in pricing, toggling this feature, shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets and the lowest prices always guaranteed. And guys, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you the can't-miss analysis, opinion, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then, guys, once again, the most important thing to Matt and I, we're once again introducing that Locked On Fantasy Baseball Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season unfolds, you can rely on us for dynamic content, get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more than we could offer in this 30-minute podcast. Stay ahead of your fantasy baseball league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begin. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. Whew. As always, brother, that is a lot of talking for me. So, Matt, who do we got up next on the Worryometer?
All right. We got Mr. Manny Machado here. And Manny just still not doing it. I mean, he's batting 228 on the season over the last month, 207. He has some decent counting stats, but not enough to, make me feel like, hey, this is what I paid this high draft pick for at 6 runs, a bomb, 12 ribs, and a stolen base over the last month, batting 207. This is ugly. Last 2 weeks, 4 runs, a bomb, 6 ribs, with a stolen base, batting 167. This last week, even more putrid through 22 at bats, a run, a rib, a stolen base, batting .091. Like, this is bad. This has been the talk all year. I mean, he's down, he's out, and I think that injury is playing up. The reports that we saw at the beginning of the year that of him not being fully healthy, that he may not really be 100% till the end of this year, and pretty much next year, I think is all real. I think that it was foolish of us to feel that it may be different. And another guy that I am worried about. I am about like a 7 or 8. The injury is playing and affecting this. So, like, what I feel you should do is honestly trade him. Like, I mean, you're gonna get pennies on the dollar, but I mean, you could still get something for him, and you might be able to package one of the sell high guys from yesterday, that the other day on Tuesday, where you might be able to go ahead and get a deal done and be able to upgrade and get a third base pitcher and to talk to a team that, because most likely if you have Manny Machado, you're probably not too high in the rankings right now unless you had a phenomenal draft. So you could talk to a team that's in first or second, see if they want to like bolster their lineup, kind of take off some talent off their team to try and fill your needs and kind of make a deal there. And that would be the move I'd go with essentially. And Manny Machado still should draw in a lot better production than in your starting lineup every day by trading him away and getting whatever you in return versus having him on your team and being a roster clog.
Yeah, so Matt, I would have normally been on the same page with you with this one. We would have been right there, lock and step, because we both were fading Machado after the surgery this offseason. He actually got elbow surgery on his tendon in there, so that's definitely affecting his production so far. But then as I was diving deeper into Machado, I don't have a share, so he's not somebody I've been, keeping up with too much this season. The underlying stuff looks good. He's hitting the ball really, really hard. The barrel percentage looks great. The bat speed's there. Even, his batting average underlying stuff looks like his batting average should be, headed into the right direction. Then the age at 31 scares me. So I could see both sides of this. He's not somebody that I'm dropping. He's not somebody that I'm giving away. I wouldn't mind trading him, but we know who Machado is. If Machado could have the 30 home runs, some decent RBIs, the runs might be okay. He's not going to steal bases anymore. He's actually a good points leagues guy because he does walk a decent amount, doesn't strike out too crazy. The batting average last year is 258. If he gets to 260, 270, I mean, that's probably where he is at this day and age. I think this is going to be one of the last productive seasons we see from Machado. I don't think he's going to, keep this going too much longer, but I think there's a little bit left in the tank. I don't think he's Jose Abreu yet. I think there's a little bit left in the tank here with Machado. Of course, shoot, my brother.
I mean, I think he'll be fine for next year. I just truly think that this is a year where we're just going to see a downward turn for him. Like there is some overwhelming stats that just say like, "Hey man, like you're not really like performing up to like he's chasing a lot more, he's striking out more, he's whiffing a lot more. Like he's not even walking half as much and he's trying to course correct and he's overcompensating instead of playing his game. So like that's where we're seeing a downward turn in those regards. So like I don't really like it. Yes, the K percentage is down, but I just mm, it's just ugly for me. I can't trust it. And if a guy is just not performing, I can't get behind keeping him at this point. He's clogging up your roster.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it. I just think a lot of the stuff does look good for him, and I think there is a path for him to turn it around. But I don't think he's, the former All Star that we have, come to know and love. So, I'm probably at about a 5 on Machado, which is probably one of actually is the highest bat, for me today. But we actually really got to keep things pushing here. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about Spencer Torkelson, right? Spencer Torkelson is somebody that we all really thought after last year was going to take a step forward. It was going to be really good. It was going to have that monstrous power, but it's not really showing so far. Only 2 homers, 16 RBIs. He doesn't really steal bags. 219 batting average, 13 walks to 39 strikeouts, which actually isn't horrible. But I don't know what's going on with Torque, man. I don't know why he's not taking that next step. It's really tough when you see a young kid like this with the prospect pedigree, and he's not really doing anything good. Nothing looks good. None of the underlying stuff looks good. I think I'm out for now on Torkelson. This is probably about a 9 for me with Torkelson, because I just don't know what's going wrong here, and it reminds me a lot of a Jared Kelnick situation when he was trying to break out, and it's just not happening yet for Torque. Maybe next year, but I don't know about this year, man.
No, I completely agree. I want to see time. So like I look at a few of his his advanced stats. So you look at his X batting averages. He's actually batting like a 187. It's ugly. His hard hit percentage is at a 38.5%. Like it's just ugly. Even his exit velocity, his average exit velocity is down 3 miles per hour. His max EV is down, which obviously that's not a season total, but still, like everything about this just screams ugly. And I just wasn't high on him anyway. Luckily, I don't think he was a top 100 pick. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was probably somewhat close. He might have been like the 120 range.
Yeah, so like I mean, quite honestly, you're not going to get anything for him if he's just clogging up your roster. I think you'd feel very comfortable dropping him. Just keep an eye on him to just say, "Hey, like if he starts, getting hot, then scoop him up. Maybe this is the start of something." But right now everything is just saying otherwise. And I'm not in. Drop him like he's hot at this point. I'm a full-blown 10, full-blown drop. See you later. Maybe I'm the negative guy on the podcast this week.
Nah,
Call me.
I told you I'm at a 9 too. We're in sync on this one.
I mean, this episode you could call me, Darth Haterade. I don't know. It's something along those lines. But like, I just, I don't know. Today I'm feeling not so great. About any of these names, truthfully. So it's just ugly. But anyway, I'm gonna stop saying it's ugly, and I'm gonna say, yo, we got more names that it ain't pretty. But before we do, we do have one sponsor for you. It's winner takes all time in NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home the big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. It's $150 for you to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Bet on the spread, money lines, player props, and more. You know what? And honestly, too, if you're feeling like the action, you feel like you might be able to see something coming in the quarter, or a period, you might as well do a same game parlay, mix up some things, getting those last minute bets right before the final tip off. So go for it. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right. And guys, I guess we'll move on here. Dom, since I just read that, I'd kind of prefer you to take this next guy if that's okay.
Of course, man, and I'm ready to go as we're talking about Alexis Diaz, finally getting some pictures here for you guys. Alexis Diaz isn't somebody who really worries me too much. This everything kind of looks very similar to what it was last year for the most part. Couple blowups, he actually still does have 7 saves, which is pretty cool. I see he had a huge blow up on it was May 5th against Baltimore, which is, making his numbers look the way they do. And then actually recently on May 13th had a big blow up against Arizona. I really think that's affecting the numbers that we're seeing from him. Alexis Diaz learned from his big brother, Edwin Diaz, who's, been an elite closer in the league for a while. I think he bounces back. He could be similar to who he was last year because the numbers actually weren't super overwhelming. I like the low 3s ERA. I like the, 20 Ks over the innings, and the 118 whip isn't elite for a closer, but it's good enough to get the job done. He's somebody that, you probably paid up for a little bit this year. So definitely don't drop. I'm holding. Maybe you can see if you move him if you don't believe in it, but I think Alexis Diaz will be fine going forward. I'm mad about it too.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him from last year, and I mean, it's just one of those things where he may be a little bit slower starter, but he's still going to get the job done. I mean, March was a little slow. Only had the 4 saves. He's already ahead of that pace. He had 9 in May, 9 in June, 10 in July, and then August, September. The save attempts weren't really there. It's not like his ERA was his ERA in September was ugly, but in August it wasn't. So you know, I think that with the Reds being a better team and being the team that they are, Alexis Diaz should be fine and probably have a much better season than last year. Just starting off a little slow in terms of the ERA, but doing just fine. I'm at a 1 on that one. But this next guy here, who I had a lot of faith in, so get me a little worried, but not too worried, and that's Tanner Bibee. Tanner has just been so up and down this year. Let's just put it that way. I I'm kind of like a little annoyed just because I had higher expectations of it with him. But on top of that, of course, the one place I don't have him. Um, but it's one of those things. Hold on, here we go. Apologize. Here we go. So he just had some up and down starts like yesterday, right? Or 2 days ago. Went out 5 innings, 4 Ks, no earned runs, .94 ERA, whip. Then he goes against Detroit, the team that he probably shouldn't get lit up against. A 9 ERA through 4 or 5 Ks and a 1.25 whip. Then the Angels, another team that's really not great. Mike Trout isn't in the lineup. Even Ward has cooled off. 4 Ks, a 10.8 ERA, and a 1.8 whip. And then he goes out against the week before he goes out against Atlanta and has 9 Ks, no earned runs, and a .29, whip. Like a lot of this stuff is just too much all over the place for me with Tanner Bibee. And I think he's just, you know, trying to figure out how to figure out the rest of the league since I think they kind of figured him out. And things are just adjusting a little bit slower than I'd like. The other thing is too, like I'm looking at his baseball savant and there's a lot of blue. And I'm not really thrilled about that either. You look at a few different things and you look at just like his velocities in mile per hour. And you look at it and you go, okay, well, his fastball is the same. His splitter is actually faster. His changeup is a little bit slower, but not much. And his curveball is actually a little bit faster than last year. Things are just getting hit a little bit more than they were last year. And I think things should kind of return to the mean and kind of see a little bit more of his elite stats soon. It's taking a little time. Maybe he's just a slow starter. We don't know because it's not like he started off the year in the bigs. He kind of came in a little bit into it. and maybe it's just going to take him a little time to get hot, and then he'll just cruise from here. We shall see. Right now, I'm at a 3, and we'll just see where it takes us from here.
Man, I think this is the easiest one of the day for me, at least trying to identify what's wrong, right?
Mhm.
It's the fastball. I think it's like super easy and plain to see. Like if you go and you look at the underlying stuff, his fastball is getting hit at a 408 clip this year. Last year, it only got hit at a 243 clip. The movement on his fastball is like almost non-existent this year. Last year had very good movement on the fastball. So I don't know if there was like a grip adjustment or something along the lines of that with his fastball, or it's just not playing the way it did last year, or if maybe hitters have figured it out. Maybe they're just waiting on the fastball now because they know they can hit it because it's not really like like I said, it doesn't have a lot of movement, and the fastball itself, it only sits at around 94 on average, which is literally around the league average. So if guys are used to seeing that 94 mile an hour fastball and it has no movement, it's definitely easy for them to hit. I think if Bibee can figure that out, everything else looks really good for him. So I'm at a 4 on Bibee right now because I don't know if the fastball is something he can figure out. But at least for me, it was super, super easy to identify what I think is wrong here with Bibee, as I haven't been able to do that with, a lot of guys today. So let's keep things pushing. Let's talk about our boy, Nasty Nestor. And, Nasty Nestor, somebody who has dealt with a lot of injuries, over the past couple of years. And I really think that's what, is holding him back from, getting to where he needs to be. We saw 2 very good seasons from Nasty before he, got banged up last year. So I think this is something he can, figure out and get back on track with. I think it's just a matter of getting, his legs back under him and, getting those reps out there, because the numbers themselves aren't like really atrocious, especially like, the underlying stuff. I do like a lot of what I see here. The whip is only a 108. His FIP was his fielding independent pitching. ERA indicator is at 360. And I don't think Nestor is going to be a sub 3 ERA guy. We didn't have to really pay much for him. So if he could be a mid 3s ERA around a strikeout per 9 and keep that whip low, I really think you're going to benefit if you can go out there and trade for him. I'm at about a 3. I'm a little bit less worried about him than I am with Bibee.
Yeah. No, I don't know how I exactly feel about Nestor. I kind of feel like a 3 because I kind of feel he's going to be back. It's been kind of all over the place. I'm not ready to do anything with him. I'm just kind of like holding and kind of just playing the matchup
Yeah.
and just call it a day. I think what you said, everything is pretty much viable and legitimate, so I don't need to repeat what you're saying. I'm going to move on to Justin Steele. Justin Steele, he's not really having a great year. I mean, he also did get injured this year for a little bit, spent some time on the IL. But I could see some issues that I can explain his ERA at a 4.72. His exit velocity this year so far in the season is 90.3, whereas last year was an 87.8. Even his max EVs let a hit off that's gone 114 miles per hour. Things are just it's not looking great on these terms. He's also not really striking guys out as much as last year. He's at 19% per clip versus 24% of the time. He's walking guys more. Even his xERA is a 4.24, and that's kind of the thing that kind of seals the deal on him. I don't know if this is what's going to be the long term solution or what like essentially his out story, his full year story is. But right now, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, I don't see if there's going to be a course correct unless we start hearing that he's making mechanic adjustments to compensate for whatever's going on with him.
Yeah, I was really behind the industry on Steele. I was out. I was not buying what he did last year. I didn't like the underlying stuff. I don't like the fact that he relies on mainly 2 pitches. He's not Spencer Strider. Not many guys can get away with that, and I don't think Steele is one of them. If that's the thing, if you really just wait on his fastball, and you could barrel up that fastball, it's even slower than we were talking about. Bibee's the Steele is sitting at 92. Just wait on the fastball, barrel it up. And that's what seems to be happening here with Steele. I would sell if you can. I don't think we're going to see the Justin Steele that we did last year. Can he still be viable as, a starter on your fantasy team? Yeah, sure. But, you're looking probably as a 6 or 7 at this point. I don't think he bounces back to where he was. I'm at about 9 with Steele too. I don't think he's going to be that good. Matt, anything else before we head out of here, brother?
Not really. Honestly, it's just a great day to talk about stuff and have the haterade flowing.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Glad to be back here with you, brother.
Yeah, so I mean, with this point, guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. If you have questions and we're not answering them on the YouTubes and you're not on YouTube, leave it in the review comment on Apple and we'll be able to answer there. With that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you.
Peace.